Hi, my name's William. Today I'll be taking you through my skill acquisition project. So for this project, I selected 3-ball juggling as my skill. Juggling is a complex perceptual motor task that requires coordination of timing, rhythm, and spatial control while tracking multiple moving objects. When learning to juggle, beginners often throw the ball too high, too wide, or too far in front, which causes the rhythm to break down and the pattern to collapse. Because of these challenges, juggling is a great skill to apply motor learning strategies. The key elements and coaching points I worked through my practice was consistent hand height, rhythm, alternating hand pattern, relaxed posture, eyes focused on the midline, and balls thrown to eye level. To measure the learnings, I completed a pre-test, mid-test, and post-test. In each test, I recorded how long I could juggle for, as well as the number of successful catches. My training program was designed around 3 key skill acquisition concepts. The approaches I used in the test were task constraints, block practice, knowledge of results, and knowledge of performance. Looking at the different approaches, so first I used constraint-led approach by modifying task constraint. I started with tennis balls before moving to juggling balls, as tennis balls were the only option I had up until the testing days. I also used a bench to lean against to stabilize my posture and improve control, trying to stop myself from walking forward or throwing the balls too far out in front. Second, I used block practice. Since I was a beginner, I repeated the same cadence in short 15 to 20 minute sessions. This allowed me to build consistent rhythm without becoming fatigued or frustrated. Finally, I used both knowledge of results and knowledge of performance feedback. I set progress goals such as reaching 10, 15, and then 20 catches, and then I reflected on technical errors like uneven throwing height or my timing. So now looking at the benefits of different approaches. So we'll look at task constraint first. Promotes self-organization of movement. So when task demands change, for example, ball size or weight, the learner must naturally adapt their movements to account for the change. Improve attentional focus and performance consistency, so limiting unnecessary movements, for example, using a bench as a constraint directs the focus to the critical parts like throwing height and timing. Enhance movement adaptability by adapting different balls and throwing requirements. Coordination becomes more flexible and leads to better error correction and stability under changing conditions. Looking at block practice now, so block practice supports early skill acquisition and coordination development. It allows the learner to focus on the skill repeatedly without interference. It reduces cognitive load, so beginners can concentrate on fundamental movements without being overwhelmed by the constant task of switching. Leads to faster short-term performance improvements, so block practice often results in quick performance gain in the early stages of learning. Now moving on to knowledge of results and knowledge of performance. So knowledge of results provides clear measure of success, gives an objective performance outcome by helping the learner understand whether they met their goal or not. So it motivates continuous improvement as well. So going from 10 catches to 15 catches to 20 catches really boosts the confidence. And then looking at knowledge of performance, so it helps identify specific errors in coordination, such as throwing height, timing, ball trajectory, and then promotes long-term learning as well. It encourages deeper understandings of correct mechanics, leading to a more stable performance over time. Now looking at my schedule, so on the left I had a planned schedule, which was what I presented in the plan. So what I was looking at was 3 times 30-minute sessions across weeks 6 to 11, which would roughly be 10 hours. That was the aim, with a reflection video each week. And then if I was confident enough with the juggling, I would have a variation added in week 11. Now if you look to the right, the actual schedule was I averaged 2 to 3 sessions each week, roughly 15 to 20 minute sessions, just because of fatigue and frustration, which is roughly 5 to 6 hours and then I also had my mid-test and post-test completed in that time as well. Now looking at my practice videos, so the one on the left was taken before my mid-test, and the one on the right was taken before my post-test. So these are both done with tennis balls, because that was what I was used to. That was what I practiced with. So as you can see, there's a pretty big improvement still with those tests. Now looking at my pre-test, so going through my pre-test, as you can see, not juggling very long, not much control, low coordination, and then mid-test there's a large improvement, better timing, better hand or eye coordination. Still a long way to go, but definitely better than the first test. And then post-test was a lot smoother, feet aren't moving around, fewer errors, and then the throwing height of the balls is pretty much perfect. Cool. Looking into the results, I'm not sure if you can see that third test, but across the testing period there was a clear upward trend of juggling performance in the pre-test. Juggling was only sustained for 2 seconds across the 3 attempts, indicating low initial coordination and control. By the mid-test there was a substantial increase in performance duration, improving to roughly 7 to 14 seconds. This reflects early gains in timing and rhythm as a fundamental movement pattern begins to stabilize. And then in the post-test, I dramatically improved, with the best time being 60 seconds, increasing learning of juggling pattern. Although one post-test trial resulted in 1 second, the overall performance level was significantly higher than the baseline, which suggests that occasional performance breakdown still occurs, but in general, consistently had greatly improved. Overall results indicated progressive skill acquisition characterized by large improvements from pre, mid, and further consolidation leading to the post-test. These findings demonstrated enhanced coordination, movement control, and ability to sustain continuous cadence pattern over time. Now moving on to the discussion. So the results of my juggling training program support key skill acquisition principles outlined in the backgrounds section and align with established research. So my performance increased from a maximum of 2 seconds in the pre-test to 60 seconds in the post-test, showing substantial improvement in coordination, rhythm, and control. These findings are consistent with constraints-led approach, which suggests that adapting task and individual constraints promotes self-organization and more effective movement solutions. Starting with tennis balls and using a bench for posture allowed me to gradually stabilize my juggling position, which contributed to improved performance in the later sessions. The strong improvement from the pre-test to the post-test also aligns with benefits of block practice for a novice like myself. Block practice supports the development of fundamental motor patterns by reducing cognitive load and allowing the learner to focus on one task repeatedly. This approach worked well in the early program, as I saw a rapid increase in my ability to sustain a cadence by the mid-test. The use of both knowledge of results and knowledge of performance also contributed to the learning. Knowledge of results helped motivate progress by setting a clear goal, while knowledge of performance indicated refinement. This combination reflects recommendations in the literature, and outcome-based and movement-based feedback together enhance both motivation, skill, quality. My results showed improvement not only in time sustained, but also improvement in smoothness, consistency, supporting this theory. Although the training was successful overall, occasional breakdowns were still evident. For example, the 1 second trial in the post-test. This suggests that while coordination improved, performance was still somewhat fragile under pressure. If I was to continue training, incorporating more variation and random practice may further enhance long-term retention and adaptability. as research shows, variability strengthens learning once a basic skill is achieved. Additionally, exploring external focus cues would help promote more automatic control and reduce overthinking. Overall, the results suggest that skill acquisition principles I used were appropriate for a beginner juggler and contributed effectively to learning. Continued practice using additional motor learning strategies would likely lead to even greater performance, stability, and adaptation. So looking at my reflection, so the process matched my expectations in that I saw gradual improvement in coordination and control. However, I found that juggling can be mentally fatiguing and did not always stick perfectly to my original schedule. Frustration when dropping the balls repeatedly and limited resources, only having tennis balls, acted as barriers throughout the project. Shorter block practice sessions were more manageable and helped me stay motivated. Seeing progress in test scores and reflection videos made the experience feel successful and encouraged me. I didn't always see improvement as I thought my mid and post tests were similar. Until looking back, comparing them, I could see vast improvement in ball control and confidence in my performance. This project has helped me better understand how the constraints-led approach, practice schedule, and feedback can significantly influence skill learning and can make a difficult skill more achievable. I also experienced firsthand how block practice supports early learning and how outcome and technique feedback help guide progress. These are my references. Thank you for watching.